Grinding Gear Games said that they wanted to make Path of Exile 2 accessible to new players. So as I said in my review of the campaign, I'm a new player to Path of Exile. Not only am I a new player to Path of Exile, I'm a new player to ARPGs in general. So once I got to mapping, I thought, wow, if they really want to take into consideration the new player experience for the end game, maybe, just maybe, if I put out a video, it might get shared to somebody and Grinding Gear Games might at least hear from one extra new player to the game about their experiences with Endgame. And ladies and gentlemen, it's been rough. So my experience with the Endgame has been arduous, to say the very, very least. Endgame is very different than the campaign. The campaign was like I said, a frustratingly good time. Now, for new players who are unaware of the game, gear matters a lot. As a new player to the game, I'm just now figuring this out. Well, I figured it out a while ago, but because I'm not actively engaging in the global trade system that is set up through like third-party websites and so on and so forth, I am at a severe disadvantage to a lot of the people out there who are engaging in it. Why? Because I'm a new player to the game, and I want to play this game, and I want to get good at this game without having to rely on the global trade system, but that's something that I will touch on a little later. So for the purposes of this, I am playing mostly SSF. That a lot of people in the community know what that means. I mean, solo self-found. Basically, I'm playing it without trading with a bunch of people. The only people that I would trade with are my wife and my best friend who are playing the game. And if they find something that's beneficial to me, then they'll help me with it. And if I find something beneficial to them, I'll help them with it. But once I got to mapping, it was really interesting. I think I lost my first tier 1 maps. I think I lost 11 to 15 of them because I quickly realized that my resistances and my gear just weren't cutting it. It's something that you absolutely noticed right off the bat. It's like, wow, this is definitely a thing. If you struggle with the Cruel Act 3 boss, then you're going to probably struggle here. Now, I did kind of struggle with the Act 3 boss. I was able to get him down. I lost a few times, and I thought, man, you know what? I didn't lose as many times as I did in normal mode. Maybe mapping is going to be easier for me. Well, that's not the thing. On top of me being undergeared for once I got into the end game, something else kept happening that I realized was making me just infuriatingly mad. I almost rage quit the game several times because of this. And what was happening is every time I would load into the map, for the first 20 to 30 seconds, I would get a frame and a half a second. And I just had to sit there and wait. And sometimes I would sit there and wait and go, okay, cool. There shouldn't be any lag on my end. I should be doing well. I actually have a fairly beefy rig. I mean, I've got a 12-core processor, an i9 with a 12-core processor and a 4070 Ti, and I'm running on 1080 monitors. You know, why would you run on 1080? I just don't believe in 4K. I don't believe in anything higher than 1080. I have no need for anything higher than 1080. I'm sorry, I'm just not one of those guys, right? I just don't. 1080 works for me sitting 2 feet away from my screens, and that's where I'm at. So I shouldn't be having any sort of lag issues. I shouldn't be having any sort of frame drop issues because running at 1080, the 4070 that I have should be handling it. But there was so much lag or hitching or something going on that in some maps I would load in and move once, and there were mobs on me already. And because of the lagging that was so bad, I couldn't actually react in time, and I would get got. And I would lose the map, which was really infuriating. And we'll get into why losing maps is so infuriating. But going through this, I even tried playing with my friend. We had all kinds of crashing happening. We couldn't even play together because I was like, hey, let's do some maps together and test things out. And he was like, yeah, let's, because we obviously got this game to play together. And apparently, there are certain skill issues that cause so many things happening on screen at the same time in a co-op server that cause it to crash. The game didn't just slow down in frame rate, it hard crashed on me 6 different times in like 30 minutes, and it hard crashed on my buddy several different times. I think 2 or 3 different times in that same 30 minutes. We found out because he's running Infernalist Witch that the skill gem that causes the minions to explode when they get hit or they die or whatever it is, that was actually the issue. I had to go to forums to find that out. Remove that skill gem and put a different skill gem on. That is something that grinding gear games needs to be aware of. In addition to that, one of the things that I realized early on, especially when mapping and you're trying to get good gear, because again, I'm under geared, my gear isn't correct, so what do I want to do? I want to do the best thing that sets me up to playing the game by myself to getting the gear that I need. And I found out that you need to have rare maps, or they look gold. We'll just call them gold maps, right? So you've got your white maps, you've got your blue maps, and you've got your gold maps, or waystones. Better yet, those are the things that activate the maps. So you've got your white waystones, your blue waystones, and your gold waystones. And one thing that I realized is that a gold waystone that's under 200% waystone drop won't really provide you enough waystones to continue through the game. This is just my own personal experience here. I noticed that if I was running, and again, I'm getting got a decent amount. Call it a skill issue, probably most likely. Call it a knowledge issue, also probably most likely. Call it a me not being good at ARPGs because I'm a brand new player, which is what GGG said that they wanted in their game. And that's the ultimate problem here. Probably most likely. It's probably all of those things. Skill, knowledge, and just new to the genre in general. And unless I was doing rare maps with a 200% waystone drop rate, I wasn't really able to keep up with the waystones that I needed to keep up with in order to continuously progress, even when I was actually completing the maps. And that was very frustrating to see. The other thing that was really frustrating is even though I was doing what I thought to be correct, right? The rare maps, the yellow waystones, dropping them on a map with 200% waystone drop rates, we've got rarity and quantity and some debuffs on me and some buffs on the enemies, but I can handle that. I was still in tier 7 and tier 8 maps getting dropped tier 2s and tier 1s. So for what I am spending to get into this map and having to overcome at a tier 8, my reward for that is a reward that's something that I completed a while ago and actually doesn't help my progression in the end game. It actually regresses me in the end game. And that was something that I just really bothered me. When I'm getting more tier 1s and tier 2s and 3s or more lower level maps, and not a little bit lower, not one level lower, but multiple levels lower than what I'm actually playing on, I kind of have an issue with that because now I feel like I can't actively progress at the rate that I would like to, or that I feel I can because I am learning as I go. The other thing to talk about is one thing that I've heard a lot of streamers talk about, because when I got into Path of Exile 2, I was introduced to a whole host of new content creators that I'm actually really enjoying. And a common thing that they're talking about is the one death penalty, right? You get one shot. You drop a waystone on a map, you're going to go into that map, you get one shot to go at it. And when you get got, you lose a lot. In fact, I equate it to this. One time of you dying equals 5 losses. Now, I took some notes here. Usually I don't take some notes when I do videos. I'm more of an off-the-cuff type person. I've tried reading from scripts before. It doesn't work out well for me. But I did take some notes. So from my notes, here are the 5 things that you lose. One, if you're playing the way that I'm playing, and maybe I'm playing it wrong, but you will lose 2 exalted orbs. Why? Because in order to get that high tier rare waystone, in order to get those good buffs on the map so you can progress through the game, I have to spend, some of the lesser orbs on it, the orbs of transmutation and augmentation and all that, and then maybe a regal. But the biggest one is when I have to spend 2 exalted orbs to get that map up to a high enough level that makes it worth my time to try to progress. So I die, I lose 2 exalted orbs. You know what else I lose? I lose that waystone that had all those modifiers on that I dropped all that currency on to get to that level. So now I can no longer get the benefits or even the debuffs to try to keep moving. Next up, you're going to lose the map mods. So you take your waystone, you find a point on the map that you want to go to, and you think, well, this map's got delirium. Or it's got a ritual, or it's got a boss, and all of those are going to provide me with some nice, sweet loot and some currencies that I can help progress with the game. Well, not if for some reason an on-death effect surprises you, or something comes out of the side, or you just get mobbed and stun-locked in a place, and all of a sudden you lose. Now you're going to lose those map modifiers. The boss goes away, the rituals goes away, all that stuff that can provide you with that gear that you were going for goes away. Next up, you're going to lose all the loot that you couldn't grab. Why don't I pick up everything on the map? Well, because my inventory space is limited and I can only pick up so much. Yes, I could fill up my inventory, travel back, but it's only if I don't get got, I only have 6 times to go back and forth to my stash or to sell stuff to go back into the map. And I just don't feel like that's enough. So you're going to lose all the loot that you didn't grab. And even worse than that, if you are over level 75, you're going to lose experience. So to summarize really quickly, if you die once in Endgame while you're mapping, you're going to lose 2 Exalted Orbs if you're playing the way that I am to get those high tier maps, which that's currency in the trading system. We'll touch on that in a minute. You're going to lose the Waystone and all of the modifiers that you dumped a ton of currency into getting. You're going to lose the map modifiers, such as the bosses, the rituals. Some of them have granted extra rarity. Some of them you irradiate, so that way you can get those modifiers. You're also going to lose all the loot that you didn't grab, and you're losing experience points over level 75. So for one death, you're losing 5 times. But I have a solution. And it's one that I've not heard anybody else say. If you've heard somebody else say it, let me know. Say, hey, you're wrong. You're not the first person to say this. But as far as I know, for the people that I've listened to and heard talk about this problem, I've never heard a solution that I've really liked, or a solution that I feel that grinding your games would accept the balance of. So here is my solution for the one death problem. 1, here's what we're going to do. If you drop a Waystone on a map, that Waystone, if you get got, is going to lose 25% of its Waystone drop modifier, and it's also going to lose some of the other modifiers that are there in the map. You're going to get 4 tries at this, right? Why? Because 25% multiplied by 4 equals 1, right? It makes sense. But you're going to get 4 tries at this. But every time you go back in, it's a little less than what it was before. And I feel like what this does is it incentivizes people to, 1, get a little bit better at the game and not feel so incredibly punished. It's like, man, okay, it was 200% Waystone drop modifier. I've only got 150% now, and the modifiers are a little less. Okay, cool. So I still get to try again. I still get to try at the map again. And that Waystone isn't wasted, especially when I spent 2 Exalts on it. My Exalts at least can go a little bit further. So now we're out of the one death mechanic. What about the map modifiers that are there, though? Well, the map modifiers, I will say this. I don't think you need 4 chances at it. I think that the map modifiers should disappear after a second death. That means that your Waystone, you get 4 chances to work with the Waystone that you just dumped currency into, but the map modifiers, you get 2 chances to work with, right? And then they disappear. This gives you another chance at the rituals, this gives you another chance at the boss, and so on and so forth. And here's the thing, reset the map on death. I have no issues with this. That's perfectly fine to do, and I think it's still going to add a challenge to players, but it's going to incentivize them to get better, to make the most out of the currency that they spent on the Waystones and the most out of the map modifiers. I think that right there would solve a lot of the frustration and a lot of the defeating feeling and a lot of the issues that you have with, well, I have this level 8 Waystone that dropped on this level 6 map. Do I do the level 8? Boy, I don't think I can. I think it would make players much happier and feel a lot better about the game. I just do. I haven't heard this solution yet. I don't even know if this is necessarily a good solution for ARPGs. but it's the solution that I feel would work the best for me and something that I feel would incentivize me to wanting to get better. Because guess what? If you get to go back into the map, you get to go and you get to take out more swaths of enemies, potentially giving you more loot, right? The loot that was there before you died, it's gone now, but you get a second chance at loot, which is what an ARPG is all about. And that's exactly what I would do to fix the one death problem. The next thing is gear drops, SSF versus trade. This is an interesting topic to talk about because I have watched a lot of streamers. One of my favorite streamers to watch right now is Rax. I love what he does. Rax is super, super cool, but he doesn't run SSF stuff. A lot of what he talks about is going and trading and doing it that way. That's not my jam. I leave my trading open to trade with my friend and trade with my wife because, well, it's kind of like couch co-op. We all jump on Discord. My wife's computer desk is right behind this camera, so she and I can sit here and play together, and it's a fun time, and we can play kind of a co-op style game like that. I have no interest in going into the open trade world, especially with some of the remarks about hacking that are happening and people's accounts getting touched on because of potentially because of the third-party software stuff. I don't know if that's true. I've heard of hacking. I've heard of stuff. Makes me not want to go into the global trade. Just throwing that out there. It's something that I'm like, I really don't want to do that. But one of the things that I feel like is, well, if I'm just wanting to play the game with myself and my friend and not go engage in this global trade thing, it really does feel a lot of times with the way the Endgame is set up, it's not giving me the tools anymore to solve the problems. When I was going through and farming the campaign that I needed to, I always felt like the game was going to give me the tools to solve the problem that was in front of me by just going and farming. And oftentimes it did. Oftentimes I got a gear drop that really, really benefited me. But when you're in the end game and you're such high level, the gear that you need to drop is exponentially more than what you needed in the campaign at level 15 or 36 or 45 or whatever you were at when you got through the campaign. Right now, I'm running with a staff that I got at like level 45. I'm a level 76. There's no reason that I haven't seen a better staff pop up in 31 levels. Now, I don't know how they fixed that, but the other thing that I can say is I'm running the Ice Monk build. I really like Ice Monk. It's very fun. You can add lightning to it. Does a whole bunch of cool stuff. Absolutely love the Monk. It's a blast. Stop giving me crossbows. If I see another rare crossbow with stats that I don't care about, I can't drop cool, awesome, golden, super swanky setup quarterstaffs for the monk, but you can give me crossbows for a character that I'm not even doing. Talk with my buddy about it. Funny enough, he's playing Infernalist Witch. He's getting a bunch of crossbows too. We're like, man, maybe the game wants us to play mercenary. That'd be insane. Even though Rax says that mercs aren't good, you shouldn't play them. Again, there's definitely a drop issue here where I feel like at one point I was being given the tools to succeed, and now I feel like I'm being penalized way too much for playing the end game. So currently for me, grinding for better gear is what I'm doing. I'm just gonna have to grind for it. But the question is, how long will the gear grind sustain me in playing this game? Am I going to see benefits enough that it keeps me interested in playing to where I don't just feel like I'm just basically getting kicked around the entire time? My passive tree is fairly well set up. I feel like the skills that I have are fairly well set up. I've taken some advice from streamers out there about the skill gems that you use. And funny enough, every time a streamer talks about the setup that they're doing for their monk, it looks like my passive tree pretty much. Mine's a little different because I don't 100% follow anybody, but it looks the same. I really don't feel like new players should have a system in front of them that forces them into a global trading system and as I talked about earlier, which could potentially leave them open to hacks, if those are true, okay, and takes them out of the game. I understand gear guides and walkthroughs and things like that have always existed. I remember going and getting books at Game Crazy from back in the day to see how to solve a game that I was playing. I think KOTOR 2 was one of them. I remember going and getting those books. All that stuff has always been there, and gamers, for the most part, will always go search out information like that. But in other games, I've never had to leave the actual software of the game to go out somewhere else to find gear outside, kind of outside of the game in order to progress. Now, if the trading system wants to be there, totally fine if people want to do it that way. But for the new player that Grinding Gear Games said that they wanted to attract, I think they need to really, really put some thought into this. From what I have heard, Grinding Gear Games is great at putting thought into it and great at adjusting their systems. But right now, as a new player to ARPGs, these are my thoughts on it. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys are new here to the channel, I love reading your comments. Drop them down below. Let me know what you think. Am I just dumb? Do I have a skill issue? Do I have a knowledge issue? Should I just get out of ARPGs in general, even though I'm having a very good time with this? Do you guys agree with me? What do you think? Most of all, what do you think about my solution to the endgame problem of the one death issue? I would really like to know that most of all. I think it's an interesting solution. I think that it makes your waystones go further, especially if you're dropping currency on them. And I think it gives you another shot at the bosses on the map. I also think it will incentivize players to get better and to keep going, because all of a sudden, if they go, man, I keep losing 50% of my waystones, and then one day they go, wait a minute, I only lost 25% that time. And then eventually incentivize the players to get to a point they go, I'm not losing any of my waystones anymore. So let me know what you guys think down below. And as always, until next time, like and subscribe. I'm supposed to tell you to do that. I don't know why. I'd rather just take a sip of my beer right now. So cheers, everybody.